why do you think that seeds, small island developing states, have been experiencing so much difficulty in getting funding from international donors?
Thank you. Regards to the CBI, as you know, it is only Dominica that's part of this program. Our program has been in existence from 1993. But you have the United States with EB5 program, where you can get residency in the United States if you invest in a project in the United States. You also have Cyprus and you have Malta. The United Kingdom has a program, a residency program, where if you invest a particular sum and you reside in the United States for 5 years, the money is in the bank, when you invest, you can receive British citizenship. So it is not only Dominica that has this program. So this program has been existing. As you know, Canada was a front runner for many decades in respect to their citizenship by investment program. So you have people who have amassed decades of experience in the business and who know this business inside out. Luckily for us in Dominica, thank God, many of these people are also promoting and marketing our program. Okay? So by interfacing with them, we are able to get from them firsthand what is the advice they can provide to Dominica on how Dominica can improve its program and also make its program successful by so doing. And I believe that those interactions with the stakeholders is very, very helpful to us based on my experience and the experience of the program. So it is always important for us to keep abreast with the trends that's taking place because it is an evolving process. It's an evolving product. It is not static. It is moving. It is fluid. And therefore, as time changes, clearly you will have to continue reviewing your program. You have to continue reviewing the regulations. For example, in the next few days, I will indicate some minor changes which we'll be making to the regulations to enhance our program. Not only its attractiveness, but also the good governance practices and to ensure that our program can continue to withstand the test of scrutiny from our international partners. So it's important for us to be in the marketplace and to interface with the experts in the program. With regards to small island developing states, there have been lots of pledges by the international community in respect to providing funds to small island developing states to put in place mitigation mechanisms against the climatic conditions. And all of us have seen how dramatic the climatic conditions have changed. I mean, if anybody were to tell us 10 or 15 years ago that we will see the kind of flooding that we've seen in Dominica or St. Vincent or St. Lucia, we would laugh at you. Because we knew before we would get days of rain and all we washed down to the seas, to the oceans. Today, we all get anxious when we see rain or we hear rain coming because we expect there to be some flooding or impact on our way of life. And these things are happening outside of the hurricane season. But there is a challenge for some small island states, including Dominica, where we have been graduated to middle-income countries. And that graduation comes with it some drawbacks. And one of the main drawbacks which comes with this graduation is that you no longer have access to concessionary financing. So the financing might be available, but because of the terms of loans, some SIDS may not be able to contract those loans because of their graduation to middle-income countries. And what we've been saying to the international community in one coherent voice is that you cannot look at our income index or look at our gross domestic product only to determine our graduation. You have to look at our debt and the reason behind our debt. If you look at every country, in most of the six countries, you will see a large percentage of the debt incurred has been to respond to disasters. Money is required to reconstruct roads which you just built. You understand? So we have some challenges there, and our argument is, look, in respect to climate change and climate change related matters, this graduation to middle income status should not be a determining factor for access to the funds. That climate change and the effects of climate change knows no boundaries. All our countries, whether you are rich or you're poor, will be impacted and are being impacted by climate-related activities. And therefore, we cannot use these graduations. We cannot use these formulas to determine whether we can have access to it and which source of funds we can have access and how we should have access to it. The point is, countries like Dominica, countries like St. Vincent and St. Lucia, and all other countries in the region need serious amounts of funds. And we do not need it tomorrow, we need it last week. And our message in Morocco, and our message which we have been pushing forward for several years, is that the developed world, who are the major emitters of greenhouse gases, carbon dioxide, that's having an impact on the climatic situation in the world, that they have a responsibility to those of us who produce almost zero greenhouse gases to the atmosphere, but who are the most affected by this phenomenon. And while we accept that the Paris Agreement has been signed and it is now internationally recognized law, though there are some debates in international legal circles about whether it has legal footing, because some countries in the constitution requires that their congresses, their parliaments must approve and ratify any agreements entered into by the heads of government, heads of state. So there is argument about this. And also with recent elections around the world, there are concerns that some heads of government may want to revisit the contents of the Paris Agreement. But the signing of the Paris Agreement is an important step, but there's a lot more work to be done. And critically, the commitment of 100 billion US dollars commitment that the developed world must put in the fund, that commitment must be kept. It must be kept. And we have to advance in a quick manner, in a more efficient manner, the terms of the Paris Agreement. Because the agreement is one, but the number of steps one must take before you can have access to the funds. And the point we're making is there are countries in this world which may very well disappear. There are islands in the Maldives, for example, that are going underwater as we speak. And mark you, it's not only the developing world that'll be, as I said, that'll be impacted by climate change. If you look at the city of New York, Manhattan, you know there was a hurricane there some years ago and there was major flooding there. So it is not only the developing world that will be impacted, the entire planet is being impacted by climatic conditions. But we need money. In Dominica's case, for example, as a result of Erica and the several troughs that have impacted us since Erica, these things cost money. You know, but it's an important question, and it's an important discussion which we must have, which continue to have in our country, so people understand the challenges which we as countries, small countries, face. It is not an easy. It's not easy at all, and this is why the CBI program is so important to us. Because if the country raises monies through limited sources, one, taxes, two, loans, and three, grants. And with the challenges which the world is going through, you expect there to be a reduction in grants because you have to be real. If a country who helped you before remarkably are currently having its own economic challenges, you have to understand that if they gave you $10 million last year when the economy was doing well, you expect to get one or none now because the economy is in difficulties. And we know that the tax regime in our country has been dramatically altered. Under this government, we have removed hundreds of workers in both the public and private sector from paying taxes. Anybody in this country who earns $25,000 a year or less, you pay no income tax. Zero. Because we've increased the tax threshold to $25,000 a year. And recently in the Parliament, in the budgetary presentation, we increased the reporting threshold on the VAT from $120,000 a year to $250,000 a year, which means that dozens of small businesses which were paying VAT to the government are no longer paying VAT to the government or reporting on VAT. And that's also a few millions that you're no longer receiving. And even with those who have to pay, sometimes they do not pay. They do not remit to the Treasury. So you have a challenge here as small states. And the point is, if countries like the developed countries of Europe, a la United Kingdom, a la Malta, and the world's largest economy, the United States of America, are engaging themselves in the CBI programs, and they understand how important it is, because at those conferences I met several developers from the United States with projects in Georgia, projects in Las Vegas, Nevada, projects in New York, apartment buildings, small hotels. They're selling this, offering, promoting these projects under the EB5 program. And we were sitting side by side them as a small country. So we have to understand in Dominica that if for the United States of America, which is the world's largest economy, the CBI program is critical to creating jobs in some depressed areas in the United States, bringing in billions of dollars to the U.S. Treasury and U.S. financial system and its economy. We have to understand how important the CBI program is to Dominica. And if it is important to the United States, it is 1,000,000 times more important to us in Dominica. And while there should be questions and there should be criticisms, but they must be done in a mature, responsible manner. It must not be in an attempt, as the opposition is doing in this country, to destroy the program. And when you destroy this program, what is the replacement to this? How are you going to replace this, the roads and the infrastructure? The National Employment Program, for example, for the last several years have been completely financed by the CBI. All of the road works you see taking place in Dominica have been financed by the CBI. The entire airport reconstruction, post-Erica, 100% financed by the CBI, except the lights and the fencing which were provided to us by the government of Trinidad and Tobago. The $10 million to the farmers, the $15 million to the hotels, all of this comes from the CBI. And if you go back to my budget address, you will see, as reporters, the extensive reporting to the Parliament on the CBI. So this is what pisses me off in this country. That you have people there who are doing nothing productive in this country, who are parading as parliamentarians and future leaders of this country. And the only operation, the only interest is to destroy this country and the people and the opportunity for this country. And people have to understand this thing. That there is politics, there is partisanship, but there's a nation to build. And there are certain things that we have to wrap the flag around. And these people are playing with the future of our people. All our students studying overseas, every single one of them who is under government assistance, these funds come from the CBI program. And notwithstanding Erica, and notwithstanding the tremendous challenge which you have in this country with Erica, we have not reduced. As a matter of fact, we have increased our budgetary allocations to assist students studying overseas. And if we are not able to raise the funds to finance the budget, then there'll be cuts. Programs will have to be erased. It will slow down our recovery efforts. And we are talking about 3 artists that were given $1,000 to go and perform in Dubai. That's the level of our discussion in this country. And there are people who are supposed to be intelligent. I'm repeating this foolishness. I mean, it's really mind-boggling in this country that we engage ourselves in these discussions. But tickets? For the hotel? People know how difficult it is to be traveling the world, and you have 2 children who are 1 year and 2 years old, who haven't seen their father for 2 weeks. Leaving the country, how many of you would leave the country sick and go and travel on your employer's business? It will be easy to call and say we're sick leave, 10 days sick leave, 12 days sick leave, 15 days sick leave. I left this country ill, as I indicated in my budget, in my independence address. I mean, we have to be careful in this country, these people parading as opposition parliamentarians, and ask ourselves in this country whether these people are serious about Dominica. Making no effort to help their constituents, making no effort to help this country. All their mandate is, by the words and the actions and the deeds, is to destroy this country. Thanks you for your question.
Changes and will the changes enhance
As I said, you know, it's an important question. As I said, this is an evolving product and program. The competition globally is increasing. There are countries that are announcing they're coming on board in this program. Five years ago, there were only two Caribbean countries in this program, St. Kitts and Dominica. Now there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us. So clearly you realize more people are coming into the marketplace. And while we will not make changes to directly compete with any of our countries in the region, based on advice from the experts, based on the intelligence that we receive, based on our interaction with the marketplace, we believe that there may be some very simple changes to the regulations that would enhance our program. You understand? Enhance our program and therefore make it more attractive for discerning investors. Because when a potential investor goes to a promoter or an agent, you have situations where that very same agent is offering all the programs in the Caribbean and internationally. So there is nobody who has an exclusive arrangement with Dominica in terms of being an agent or being a promoter. They are approved agents and promoters as per the regulations. But when you go to these people's offices, they have all of the countries. So the discerning investor is not only choosing from one list, one country, Dominica. It is choosing from a wide range of lists, from the United States, from UK, from Cyprus, from Malta. And if you were to compare the advantages which these developed countries have over us in the region, you can understand it, my friend. That, I mean, many of you here, I mean, you know, I mean, your aspiration is to get an American green card. I mean, that's it. So, if you're able to get an American green card by investing in a project and so forth, then you will do it because there are opportunities in the United States for education and access to various things. This is a developed country and so forth. And if you're able to invest and to go into the United Kingdom, which is a well-respected country, you know, with a lot of advantages, by investing half a £1 million or £2 million, and after a few years you're able to apply for British citizenship, which allows you visa-free into the United States and many countries around the world, then you understand what you're competing with. And this is why it is so important for us as a country to not only be promoting and marketing with words and brochures, but to be physically in the marketplace. Physically in the marketplace. And this is why I'm saying to you that this trip we took, in my mind, will bring tremendous benefits to our country. I am not going to take the liberty of indicating how much money I believe that we can raise as a result of this trip. But I can tell you that I, as a Minister of Finance and Prime Minister who is largely responsible for raising the funding for this country, I am well pleased. I am well pleased that God's willing, and I know the good Lord is on our side, that we will raise the $271 million to finance the budget. What we need to do as a country and the government and public service is to continue to improve on our efficiency and get the estimates and designs for public buildings and public infrastructure and get work going. Let us redouble our efforts to get things going and improve the lives of our citizens. And for example, the entire resettlement of Petite Savanne, outside of the 50 petrocasters we're building, will be financed by the CBI. 381 houses. And this is what the opposition is trying to undermine. Understand this. That these people, the residents of Petite Savanne who are living in rented accommodation, though they're comfortable, yes, but people prefer their own homes. And that is what these people are trying to undermine. The government efforts to resettle these communities, bring back their lives to normalcy, that they can have their home again to enjoy and to benefit from. You know, so this is what really, this is public, so I have to watch my language. Thank you. Any other questions, please?
Prime Minister Skerrit,
Yeah.
Of course, the sustainable development of small island developing states continues to be threatened by new and emerging environmental issues, and you mentioned the need for urgent response as far as the drawing of funds for small island developing states, countries like Dominica. Was a commitment taken though, or how soon will you see that?
Well,
Action?
yeah, in the Paris Agreement, there's a commitment for the fund to be capitalized annually with US $100 billion. Okay? Annually. And the developed countries have their own quota to commit to. Our concern is, among other things, as follows. One, whether these countries will keep to the commitment of the amount annually. Two, whether those commitments will be in the amounts and in a timely fashion made available. The mechanism by which countries like ours will access those funds is also a concern to us. Are we going to place onerous criteria on our qualification and application to those funds? And how efficient will be the disbursements of those funds to our countries? And based on past experiences with such international commitments, our concerns are legitimately placed. And this is why our presence at these conferences and summits is so critical to advancing our positions. Because if you leave it unattended, there'll be no one to advocate on your behalf. And therefore, you have to advocate on your own behalf and on behalf of the Caribbean region. And this is why we are united from the Caribbean perspective, and also broadly speaking from the SIDS perspective. Because if we're going to apply the same procurement rules for regular everyday projects to climate change related projects, you're going to have a problem. And you're going to have a serious problem in this world. You know, there are countries now, SIDS, that have put in place contingency arrangements. There are countries that have committed to certain SIDS that, look, if your country sinks, you can come live with us. I believe the Marshall Islands, for example, the United States has promised, look, we'll take everybody. And there is a strong reason to believe scientifically, based on scientific research, and the scientific conclusions are in fact happening before our very eyes. Countries will disappear. Take a drive to Calibishi, for example, and you will see a structure out at sea. I believe that used to be a public convenience. That's where the land was. And if you go to a gentleman called Mr. Ostry, he has a shop and a bar in Calibishi. He will show you where he used to sit, where he planted coconut trees. And you will see now that the coconut trees are in the sea, standing by themselves, because the land there has eroded. If we were to be affected by ocean events, for example, there are many coastal villages in Dominica that will be washed away. Portsmouth, for example, is below sea level. All the way to the Mang can be washed away, can go under with tidal actions. That's what affected, for example, the Bahamas, the Bamaha Island. The sea went in more than 1 kilometer into the village. Luckily for them, it did not stay. It receded within a minute or two. But had it stayed there for hours and decided that it's not going to recede, then what would happen to these islands? So it is literally, my friend, a life and death situation for us. Literally a life and death situation for us. And those who want to treat climate change from an ideological, philosophical standpoint can do so. That's their right to do. But for us, it is life and death. And we do not have the luxury of questioning the scientific results and to say it is phony, it is this and it is that. We don't have the time because we are living it every day. That when there's supposed to be a dry season, we're getting rain non-stop. Farmers cannot produce. You know, I planted some cucumbers. I was projected to raise about $3,000 from this cucumber plot. But if all of the rain, it's affected my production. Because I do not want rain. I want sun, hot sun. Because the more sun you get for the cucumbers, the more production. So, and many of our farmers are experiencing that situation. You understand? So it is a real situation for us, my dear friend. And I'm hoping that our country can become more educated and informed on issues of climate change for us to appreciate better when leaders like Dr. Darrow and others are speaking about this in the public domain. Thank you.
Mr. Prime Minister?
Yes.
Robert, I hope short this question. Clearly, you're doing well in terms of the raising CBI funds, and I suspect most Dominicans are appreciative. It is not going into projects like hotels and so on, but you pointed out a lot of it is going to rehabilitation work. Clearly, areas like the Petit Savan residents are still a priority. But as the funds continue to flow in under the CBI program, and we have to give you and your government commendation for your really a very good job you're doing there. As you say, based on the competition, not only from Honourable, even from the Caribbean, but you're succeeding, sir, our compliments. But when these funds continue to come, will you and your government be looking at other areas that some say are still in need? Agriculture keeps coming into focus, and sometimes we wonder though whether in fact you're not doing the best you can in terms of agriculture, in terms of the infrastructure, in terms of the concessionary monies being made available to farming? Are there areas that you still feel government at some point may want to help in? And other, even more practical areas, so like as you may know, a lot of people all over the country are complaining when they come into town, they can't find any place to park. Would government be considering providing some funding for, say, a bus terminal that will help, relieve the city streets from buses parked everywhere? Thank you.
Yeah. The whole idea, the use of the funds, we try our best to, and this is why if you look at the budgetary allocations this year and compared to last year we used quite a little of the funds for recurrent expenditure. What we have determined in the cabinet for this financial year going forward is to use the funds more in a sustainable way. You understand? More for investments. Okay? So this is why you realize we have put money for the agriculture at the banks at 3% loans, and the tourism people at 3% also, 15 million at 3%. Rebuilding and building infrastructure. These are sustainable investments, because you need those investments to be able to attract further investments. Also paying on our debt, our national debt, trying to reduce on the monthly and annual payments to national debt, so as to allow you to have greater fiscal space from your own local revenues to be able to do more to address the social and economic challenges of the country. Certainly, we will continue to invest in agriculture. We're using those funds. Some of the feeder roads will be financed by funds from this, from the CBI program. The monies which we'll put in at the aid bank for the artists will come from this, and the hope is that they can use this to improve the art form and make themselves more attractive, and be able to get more acts out of Dominica and bring in the foreign exchange. So we continue to look at areas, we continue to engage the private sector, the various groups in the private sector. I can say to you publicly, for example, there is one local investor. As you know, the government has shown an interest in purchasing Colgate-Palmolive, DCP. But because there was a local investor who was interested, we have given that local investor priority negotiating with the owners of Colgate-Palmolive. And that local investor is interested in manufacturing soaps. And I have said to the local investor that the government will provide you a concessionary loan from our CBI funds to acquire Colgate-Palmolive, on the condition that you're going to be manufacturing soaps. You see, because there are multiplier benefits to the economy if we were to restart the soap. So I intend to engage the principals of Colgate-Palmolive on behalf of that investor, again, to determine where we are with the sale of because Colgate-Palmolive will have an issue, environmental issue as far as the government is concerned, that if you're not going to manufacture soaps, the question is, how are you going to dispose of the machinery? Because, an island state like Dominica, you have this machinery sitting there, can become an environmental concern. But if you're going to sell to somebody who's going to manufacture soaps, then majority of the equipment there would continue to be utilized, and so forth. And to say publicly, as a government, we discussed in the cabinet. So I believe I have the freedom to say it, that we're prepared to engage any local investor who has an investment proposal and who believes that if government partners with him or her or them, it can happen, then we're prepared to engage you. Please come to see me. Only thing is that the monies will be sent to the aid bank, and the aid bank will lend to, because the government I'm not really in support of the government signing loans with people. We do that in extreme circumstances. But I don't want government to be a lender to individuals. Go to the aid bank or the NDFD or whatever it is, and we can provide funds there. So we're looking at ensuring that in the event that the CBI funds started dropping or the program has come to an end, because in life everything is not, there's nothing that is for forever. You know, I believe it's Job 21 who says the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh. And it says, blessed be the Lord. So we understand that the Lord is giving us now, that tomorrow that he may take it for whatever reason. And you still will say, blessed be the Lord. But you also, it also says that when you how you treat your life when you're young will determine how you will be when you're old. So I think I'm paraphrasing the biblical quotations there, you know. And therefore, how you use the funds now is critical for the future. And this is why we have been very responsible, prudent in how we utilize the funds. It is not about us. You get the money, just spend it. They must be responsible with. So the $25 million which we're going to the aid bank to lend to both the agriculture and the tourism sectors, our children will benefit from it in the next few years because they'll be getting that money back. So we can say, based on the agreement, I can't remember the details of the agreement, but in the next 10, 15 years, the aid bank will pay us $25 million. That can be used now to reinvest in tourism or agriculture or some new entity. And for example, I have set aside $5 million for the construction of the indoor facility, the sports indoor facility. I have given the Ministry of Sports the mandate that I would like to see construction commence, the first half of 2017. To take us and the sporting fraternity to another level, for us to be able to host in decent, modern accommodation in regional international events. You understand? So there's a firm commitment to that. I believe that we're having discussions with possible architects next week and so forth to advance the agreement that we had, which was suspended because of tropical storm America. And of course, geothermal, we have committed $15 million and set it aside as government's direct financial contribution to the construction of the geothermal plant. Obviously, we're getting some grants from some friendly governments, and we'll also be contracting some loans from some banks, because the number of banks were offering us monies, from the CDB to the World Bank to the European Investment Bank. I mean, the European Investment Bank made contact with us a few weeks ago and said, look, please engage us. And also the Agence Française de Développement. So they're all offering us various sources of funding. So you can see the respect that the government and the country has, that people that we don't ask to give us money are coming forward to say, look, please engage us too. We heard you speaking to this and that person. Come on and engage us. And so it speaks to the respect that countries have for this country because of the prudent and responsible and transparent manner in which we have been conducting the affairs of this country. So we have to use the funds, and this is why we introduced the investment side of the program. You understand? The hotel construction. But contrary to what people think, if you look at the regulations, it also speaks to investments in agriculture. So somebody who has a project to invest in agriculture, it can be financed under the CBI. Also, manufacturing. If you want to build a plant to manufacture something in Dominica, and you want to raise the funds through the CBI, you can in fact submit a proposal to the government. So it's not only hotels, but it also involves investments in agriculture, investments in fisheries, investments in manufacturing. So when you build a hotel using the funds, these are sustainable investments. The hotel will be there even after the program will have come to an end. And jobs created, foreign investments brought in, farmers can benefit, taximen can benefit. You know, so we can imagine the impact which a five-star hotel will have on Dominica. Because part of the marketing outreach of Kempinski, Dominica will be included. You see, and if you're a tourist person, you follow the tourism industry very, very closely, and as a person in media and research, you will see, if you go, you will see the extensive promotion of the Kempinski brand. You understand? And Dominica will be part of this and named in their marketing strategy and program. So one can understand the huge benefits to our country. So, and so we have, and these are name brands. So we have the Courier by Hilton. We have Jungle Bay, which has its solid presence in the marketplace. People know Jungle Bay, they know the experience. As a matter of fact, I met people who have told me about Jungle Bay out in the marketplace and who are excited about its reconstruction. You understand? We have Bakotlet down in Soufriere that is offering a nice fusion with historical aspects and fusing history, and nature with tourism. You understand? And you also have Silver Beach. And Silver Beach, I am not at liberty to make any announcement, but to say that Silver Beach, as far as the developers have told me, are at an advanced stage of negotiations and conclusions of those negotiations with a brand, an international brand. You know, so if we can get these brands in Dominica, it will speak volumes to our ability to attract more tourists in our country, create more jobs for our people, and a better way of life for our farmers and for the many people who depend on the service industry for their well-being and survival. And this is why I can tell you, this is why it is so critical for us to be out there. Because you can have many publications as possible. If people are not able to have this interpersonal exchange with you, I mean, I met thousands of people who were thinking whether they should apply to our program or not. And by merely sitting with them face to face and responding to their questions, giving them that comfort, and they meeting the Prime Minister, feel confident that this program is a transparent one, and one that they are confident they can invest in. And this is why I'm saying that this last trip was very successful. And I will say finally, if there are no more questions, when I saw this request for the honorarium for these people, I thought it was missing a zero. Because I pay local bands to come and play for Feast in Bakers for 5,000, 3,000, 4,000. You see what I'm saying? I mean, and these are, as far as I'm concerned, Mikel is an international star. Daddy Chess and Hunter are internationally recognized. You see what I'm saying? And instead of people saying, I hope Skerrit paid them fellas big money, fellas say Skerrit paid them fellas big money. Anyway, thank you very much. God bless you. Thank you for being in the media. God bless Dominica. Let's stay focused. Your government is focused. We're not distracted. We have work to do. There's a lot of work to be done. Let us work together for the advancement of our beautiful country, Dominica. Thank you and God bless you.